Hi, and welcome to What's Next Wall Street. I'm Georgia Alfredas.
She is, and I'm Dave Mathews, and this is a show about stocks, crypto, and the new decentralized financial Web3 world around us.
So I've got details on all the hot new trending products that everybody's talking about using and investing in. And today, I'm talking old school versus new school.
Detroit Rock City, and I'm going to talk about how your next car may have a monthly subscription service, even if you own it.
What? Say what?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I was like, what? Okay, so we've got Greg Krause, lead instructor at OptionsPlayers.com as our expert. Greg here charts a lot of these companies, and all these chart indicators can show exactly where a particular stock is headed so that it's easier to target investment potential. So what Greg does is he combines technical analysis with fundamental knowledge and all the good stuff.
Yep. Our goal with all this good stuff that Georgia talked about is to provide you with an education, information, and tips to make you a more informed trader, with a tailored trade plan so that you can stay up to speed with what's next on Wall Street and stack some financial monies.
Yes. So, hey, you can email us at OptionsPlayers.com or hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street with your questions. We can also direct you to instructors like Greg and experts over at OptionsPlayers.com who dig into trading fundamentals.
Now, you can watch this episode on the OptionsPlayers.com YouTube channel. Just search for it there, or listen on podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast, probably iHeartRadio too.
Yeah, probably. So whether you're listening to the podcast or you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. It's super important to hit that alert button so that you always know what's next on Wall Street. Sometimes we do live streams and so on and so forth. And if you like it, give us 5 stars, even if you don't. So more people are signing up for Spotify and hopefully listening to our podcast. Spotify had 433 million total monthly active users. Analysts were looking for a number of 428 million. Meanwhile, revenue topped $2.9 billion. So executives said they were really pleased with the resilience of their company. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, Netflix is trying a new program in some Latin American countries in an effort to stop password sharing. You don't share passwords, do you, Georgia?
I have it. Let's see, TJ, my sister, my mom,
maybe you do.
like 4 houses.
So as of August 22nd, the company will offer an add-at-home option, which will allow TVs outside the primary household to use the same Netflix account.
Okay.
The streaming service will detect which homes are using different IP addresses, which is the way your computer connects to the internet, device IDs, and also account activity. Netflix offers a basic plan that lets users add one additional house, or a standard plan for multiple houses, and even a premium plan for 3 houses.
Oh, wow.
The extra fee of the basic plan is about $26 per month in Argentina and $2.99 per month in other countries, but obviously the pricing is different, in the US.
Yeah.
Add to that, Netflix and Microsoft are teaming up to create a lower price subscription tier that relies on commercials to generate revenue. So
I'll be watching commercials on my Netflix.
Exactly.
I'm watching commercials, and that way it'll be free.
Yeah, and Microsoft, it's not their first foray into this. They had IPTV systems in the past, and they can support advertising networks to create this ad-supported tier. Now, the streaming giant said Microsoft's ability to protect users' privacy was a big factor in deciding to team up. So that means the ads won't be targeted like everything else in life, which is interesting and kind of a reverse, but it's a more positive trend.
Right. Good news for Kansas. The world's largest electric vehicle battery plant is being built in Kansas. Kansas won a competition for a $4 billion Panasonic manufacturing facility. Now, construction is due to start in the fall, and it's going to create 4,000 jobs with an average wage of $30 an hour. That's amazing, yeah. So the new factory is going to bring about $2.5 billion to Kansas yearly.
That's crazy. And it's Panasonic is generating new cells for the Teslas. So this is a larger capacity cell, which will give longer range. And also they're saying the first people that are getting these cars, it charges faster too. And those first cars came out of the Gigafactory in Texas, which when you fly into Austin, you drive by this Gigafactory for like 2 or 3 minutes when you're on the highway.
Feels like forever.
It's an amazing factory. So we showed that on a prior episode of the show. You can watch the party that we showed from the Gigafactory. Hey, good news for the Big Apple as well, my old home city. New York is expecting a more than 200% increase in international tourism this year. But I guess if you went to zero, what else? Yeah. Officials are expecting roughly 8.3 million foreign visitors in 2022, as opposed to 2.7 million last year.
Well,
but nobody was there. Come on, there was a global thing going on that I didn't pay attention to. Domestic tourism is also on the rise since 2021. Georgia, Who wrote this story? This is just like, we
It's
went
just-
from 0 to 200%.
But still, during the height of COVID, I mean, over 30 countries banned traveling. So now I'm just telling you, we're back.
We're back. This better help my jet stock,
Oh, yeah. See,
So
it's all about
massive
you.
drop in tourism and the closure of many New York businesses. That was Antifa. I'm going to blame that on those guys that
What?
boarded up the Louis Vuitton store, Georgia. You know this.
Don't get me started.
But now with
please.
restrictions loosening, the Big Apple's expecting 56 million new travelers a year.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
good.
So speaking of Apple, the other Big Apple,
I see what you did
is
there. Now
making
this is cute.
is making a major real estate investment in San Diego. You love San Diego.
Mm.
Apple purchased a property in the Rancho Bernardo community for $445 million. Just a drop in the bucket.
70 acres.
The nearly 70-acre site was formerly a research lab for Hewlett Packard and is near sites for other tech companies, including Sony and Broadcom. So this is Apple's first property purchase in San Diego, which is kind of surprising to me. But it follows a commitment to hire 5,000 people in the area by 2026. Now, Apple has had engineering teams working in San Diego since 2018, but now they're going to actually have a home there. And while we're on the subject, Dave, what is this new lockdown mode for iPhone? I don't even know what that is. Talk to me.
All right, so think about all the celebrities that have had their phones like compromised, right? Everything from Bezos with the Saudi prince sent him a WhatsApp message that gave him full access to all his phones, and that's how all those below the belt shots came out. Well, this is intended for high-profile users such as politicians and activists who may be targeted by state-sponsored hackers.
Okay.
And I've talked about the NSO group doing this kind of stuff too. So this is rogue firmware, not firmware, but it's an application that modifies the firmware. And lockdown mode turns off several features on an iPhone in order to make it less vulnerable to spyware.
But where is it? Like, do I have it? Because I'm not a
So we
celebrity.
don't really know yet because they haven't shipped it yet. But remember with Windows 95, there was safe mode. And if Windows 95 wouldn't boot, you could hold down the shift key and turn it on, and it would go into a safe mode. It was essentially Windows that was neutered. A lot of the drivers weren't running, and you couldn't get onto the internet. So essentially what it does is says, we're not going to preload the message. You know, like if I send you a picture, the picture just shows up in iMessage. You don't have to click on it. So they're really going to limit, like, you're not going to get PDFs or anything that could be vulnerable. You're not going to be able to do that stuff. So, like I said, it hasn't shipped yet, but I'm excited to see what it'll do. The key thing, like, if your phone is turned off, black screen, like dark, and in your pocket and is hot, that means, like, your phone's doing something with the network.
What?
So,
Oh, it's
There's
just a picture of us.
that's cute.
All. Okay. Never mind.
Today's pro tip is brought to you by OptionsPlayers.com. So stop trading penny stocks! Exclamation point. A lot of new traders are lured into penny stocks due to their inexpensive cost. I know I was like this.
I did it too.
I bought like a bunch of worthless stock, and then it just kept getting more worthless.
But isn't it a good way to learn? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought so, but generally if it's a penny, it's got risks. Now these stocks often have low liquidity, and the chance of hitting the jackpot with them is bleak. Now penny stocks are not required to report the same listings on the major exchanges. Many stocks trading under $5 a share become delisted from major stock exchanges and are only tradable over the counter. So unless you see a real opportunity and have done your research, steer clear of these. Most of the time, they're just pump and dump schemes or low quality opportunities like Dogecoin. We hope this suggestion will help you steer clear of bad opportunities and stay more focused on the proven ones. And all early traders fall into this trap, myself included.
This is where we get to hear from you. You can always hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street. Comment on our YouTube page or email us at www.optionsplayers.com. So this first email comes from Ty from Options Players Community. Thanks for being a part of that community, by the way, Options Players. Ty asks, what actually is the Fed rate and what things are affected by it? How does this relate to the stock market? And we've got Greg Krause here to answer this question. I can tell you look so excited.
Answer this in Janet
all right,
Yellen's
so,
voice, too.
The Fed rate, all right, is the interest rate that depository institutionals, also known as banks, credit unions, charge other institutions to hold money overnight. Now, normally what this rate is for is the government has regulations that say, hey, you have to hold this amount of money. And that goes into the reserve, which is held somewhere else. So they have to borrow money from other banks or other institutions to make sure they have the minimum requirement there. And that's the rate that's charged. Now, how does it relate to stock prices? Let's not worry about stocks. Let's talk about bonds. Okay, so now we're talking about treasury bonds, notes, things like that. So let's just say the Fed rate is 4%. Now, let's just say it's 4%. Then the ones that are closest to it are going to be closest to 4% treasuries. Say it might be 4.5 for a 2-year, and then a 4.75 for a 5-year. And then you get to the 30, it might be 5%. So the longer, the higher the interest. Those are almost what we call risk-free bonds. So a company like Apple could basically get that money and pay around that price. Most companies can't get near that, right? It's based upon the rating. You ever heard like countries are double A or double B? Well,
Yeah.
United States is high. Right?
What's Russia
Apple's
now?
right there.
Negative
I don't
Z.
know. It's probably not good, right? So, you have your prime bonds, and that's what we're looking at. So that doesn't seem like it will affect stocks, but it does through one reason: discounted cash flow. So if a company can borrow $1 billion and only pay, and that cost of that capital only costs them, let's just say 8%, right? They only have to pay 80 million back. But if it cost them 13%, now they got to pay 130 million back. And that doesn't sound bad, but when you stretch that out over 20 years, that's a lot of money. So basically what you're doing is your future evaluations, you're looking at the present value of it. And I know that is kind of algebraic. I know you're looking at me like crazy. Just understand that the cost of capital, the weighted average cost of capital, affects the evaluation of companies, the cash flow. And cash flow is king. That's what everybody cares
That's
about.
what my dad taught me. Cash is king.
Yeah, that was
That's like
actually
when I
like
bought
geometry. I understood that.
Yeah, so in that point, as rates go down, money gets cheaper.
Yeah.
So you can invest more, right? So they make more profit. Because
So that's why we're, a couple weeks ago, we talked about Zuckerberg saying that we're going to have to tighten batten everything down because cash is going to be hard to get a hold of.
Yeah, and it's kind of like weird because you expect rates to go up when the market's doing great, right? So a lot of times rates will go up and the market will continue to go up, right? That's because the market's doing good. But then whenever the market has the slight issue, they just cut it to zero lately. Not to zero, but they cut it too dramatic and they make it so cheap. And then now we're in this first time we're heading into a possible recession with the rates going up. I have no idea. I've never seen this in my lifetime. So
It's definitely walking a very thin line between recession.
Telling you what the market's going to do today with the interest rate hike, I can't tell you. It could go either way because it's something new to everybody, and I think everybody's trying to figure out where everybody's going to put their money. And if I knew that, I'll be sitting up there a trillionaire or something.
Yeah.
Classic Porsches. That's what we're doing. We're doing classic Porsches. All right. The next email comes from Bo from Options Players Community. Again, thank you. His question he's got two. When people talk about Fed rate changes being priced in, is there any implication for how the market will move once the Fed announces or confirms the change?
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about being priced in, you're basing it upon some assumption. The Fed talks all the time. Like, they have a few things they talk about, but it seems like one of them has an interview every day. So you know what their outlook is for the year. You know what their outlook is for the next month. So people listen to that and say, okay, they might raise it a point. They might raise it 0.5 points, whatever. So it's built in because people are saying, okay, there's a high likelihood of that. So yeah, it is kind of built in. Now, the other part of your question here, what's the rate change, like 0.7 or 75 point range in market pricing, 103 point change? I don't really get what you wrote there at the 103, but if you're talking about like a whole point versus 7.5.
Yeah, step two of the question was, these were, obviously we recorded this show at a different time than when you guys are watching.
Yeah.
But he's giving examples of what these changes were.
Yeah, so if you expected like, say, 0.75% like we had in June, right? If that's what you're, and then they all of a sudden they come out with a 1, then you can expect that to drive the market a little bit different because they weren't expecting that.
That big of a spread.
Yeah, so when it's priced in, it's basically the assumption of what's going to happen. It's the same thing when you look at stocks and all the advisors or whatever say Apple is going to make whatever, like $10.2 per share, or whatever it is, right? And they come out and they beat it and they make 10.3. That's the same thing here. And that doesn't even mean it goes up, because we've all been there when someone beats their estimates and then the price just goes down 35%. We've all been there. So just know there's no win or lose there. There's no way to say it's priced in. That's something people use as a scapegoat. Because if you knew it was priced in, you would be making billions.
And the market doesn't change, so it's it eases you into it.
It's quite dynamic anyway, so you could be right about everything. It's like economics. Nobody knows what's going to happen, so you're basically trying to guess a leaf falling on a windy day. Where is it going to land? You don't know.
Right. Well, if you have a question, we can probably answer it, or it could be like a leaf falling on the
in the forest. Does anyone hear it?
Yes. So hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street in the comments section, or on our YouTube page, or email us at What's Next Wall Street at OptionsPlayers.com with your questions and your comments.
Okay. When I find out about a good thing, I tell everybody, whether it's a stock tip, a mommy tip, or a health, which is wealth, by the way, tip. That's why I'm telling y'all about SmileBrilliant. Okay. I found out way too late in life that I should have probably gotten a night guard. I grind my teeth at night. So, okay, who cares? No big deal, right? Except that it's actually a huge deal. And there's even a name for it. It's called bruxism, and 1 in 5 people suffer from it. And guess what? The most common cause is stress. So yeah, a lot of people are dealing with it right now. You might clench your teeth during the day, or maybe grind your teeth at night. Both are bad. This condition can cause cracked and or chipped teeth, which can cause major tooth sensitivity. It can cause worn down tooth enamel. And let me tell you something. Once your tooth enamel is gone, it's gone. It is not growing back. Hello, thousands of dollars in veneers, or worse, implants. That's money I could be putting into good use in the stock market. Hello. But it's not all bad news. I told you I found out about something really good. SmileBrilliant has saved my money and my smile. So the dentist would charge you up to $600 for a night guard. A custom night guard from SmileBrilliant is as low as $45, with reorders as low as $25. And it's so simple because they keep a digital file of your dental impressions, so that way it's nothing. Oh my gosh, ridiculously easy. Making reorders is hassle-free. Do yourself a favor. Stop ruining your teeth, but save money while you do it. Visit SmileBrilliant.com and use discount code WNWS for 20% off. SmileBrilliant also has custom-fitted teeth whitening trays, whitening gel, electric toothbrushes, water flossers, and much more. So go to SmileBrilliant.com and use discount code WNWS for 20% off today.
So Georgia, imagine a world where you're driving down the road and your butt is cold. So you want to turn on the heated seats, because you're fancy.
Okay, I'm kind of fancy. Okay, what are you going to tell me, Dave? That's how I can use Alexa, Siri, Hey Google to do that automatically? Is that what we're talking about?
No. Actually, BMW is proposing a pay-as-you-use model where you can turn any number of features like heated seats on in the winter for a small fee, like, $18 a month, and then turn it off in the summer until you need to pay for it again next year.
Okay. Let me just get this clear. You're telling me I have to pay again for what is already built in my car?
Yeah. So this is like a software license. They sell those as pay per seat for things like Google Mail, Hosted, or Microsoft Office. However, this goes against what so many people love about the Tesla, the fact that they keep getting better with software updates. As a matter of fact, the Model 3 owners didn't even know their rear seats had the necessary warming equipment built into them until the software was enabled in a future release.
Wow, super
That
cool.
they were surprised. Rear heated seats for the munchkins.
Gotta have that.
Talk about spoiled. I bet your kids demand that.
They have it. We have it in every car, yeah.
Figured so. Now, some features like Tesla full self-driving, which isn't full self or automatic driving, Elon keeps raising the price on, with another rumored increase later this year. In fact, it's now a $12,000 option. Did I mention that it doesn't work?
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, it's not really enabled for full self-driving. But you can do this as a payment of $199 a month now, and it does cool stuff on the highway, but it's not taking you out of your neighborhood and going down the road.
This is, it looks like everybody wants to get into the recurring revenue model with whatever they sell you. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah, think about how many Internet of Things gadgets like the Pebble smartwatch or health monitors, they weren't able to keep their lights on, meaning the company's alive, because new product sales weren't enough to justify the team, the servers, and the service to keep it all alive. Now with electric vehicles, the maintenance is so low because of the lack of complexity. And the runtime between servicing that dealerships they're really going to lose on this because you don't have to take it in so much for oil changes because there's no oil in the motor.
Right. So what's the solution? Where's the balance in this shift to electric?
Well, we don't even have the charging infrastructure set up for electric vehicles in our own garages, apartments, and malls. In fact, Tesla chargers are the only real ones that are reliably turned on and operational. Most charging stations that I look at closely are out of service for some reason or another, and those are the ones owned by the malls. The non-Tesla stations also have unique apps that you need to download for each different system, which means you have to put credit cards in and do other hoops to jump into to authorize the payment. With Tesla, you just plug in the station cable into your vehicle and the billing is sorted out automatically on the Tesla app.
Okay.
But worst of all, our community grid isn't set up to charge a neighborhood full of electric cars overnight. With the cost of fuel increasing, this is a conundrum we're getting ourselves into. But lately, fuel's been coming down. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
Burning gasoline or diesel is efficient and has infrastructure on most every corner block of a community. Power grids still burn fossil fuels. Greg and I talked about this on a prior show. And they have to transmit alternating current dozens of miles before you convert that energy back into direct current to charge an electric car. So it's like AC to DC, very inefficient. This is like Nikolai Tesla, the inventor of DC direct current, versus Thomas Edison, who loved alternating current. So look at this. Unless you're one of the rare folks with many solar panels on your roof, because you have to power both the car and the house.
Yeah.
The dream of a zero footprint carbon commuting life is only a pipe dream.
Don't say that.
Yeah, it's the tree hugger in you hates it, but it looks like we're seeing a trend where services will be added to your car. And just like you might have satellite radio or OnStar for when you crash and it, God forbid, has to call 911.
Yeah.
So services are coming and BMW is first to do it.
You
However,
know what? I wish I would.
They said they're not going to offer that pay per butt heat in America.
I was about to say, my
it's only
babies
a
would
matter.
get in the car with a heated blanket. Plug it up, baby. Gosh. Okay, so in a previous show, we talked about Tesla getting rid of about 75% of its investment in Bitcoin. Meta is shutting down the final price of its cryptocurrency project on September 1st, and it's called Novi, and it's the last remnant of the Diem project that Facebook kicked off years ago. Coinbase is cutting around 1,100 jobs. Crypto leader Celsius Network is bankrupt. The point is that uncertainty certainly continues to plague the crypto market. And I think it's like Game of Thrones. Did you see Game of Thrones?
No, but I get the gist. Winter
Is coming. Yes. And watch that, by the way. Maybe it's just a natural correction, but I got to tell you, I was never a fan, okay? Because cryptocurrency is just too fluid for me. Every time I think I know what I'm doing, there's something new for me to learn. I'm like, get over it. It makes me feel old, like my mom using my phone. I'm like, it's not just for weather, Mom. So it's like rap music now. What the hell are they even saying? What is your name? Just have a normal name like Tupac, Biggie, something I can actually pronounce. I miss old school rap. Okay, this isn't rap, but still. And old school investing, okay? So who's got next? What is the next big investing trend? Sources say Coinbase may be hurting, but cryptocurrency isn't exactly collapsing.
It's hanging in there. It's small ups
hanging
and
in there.
downs.
So the trend is old school diversifying with new school investments, right? There are a ton of Coinbase options out there,
Just
or coin
coin-
options.
just coin
Coin options. Also, there's investing in Web3 technologies. Many are moving toward ESG investing. It's a movement, guys, and I'm not the only one. ESG, by the way, stands for environmental, social, and governance. So, and even though we're not talking about, a bit of resurgence with COVID, now we're kind of thinking, oh, is it back? And now we're talking about monkeypox. I don't know. People are still traveling and may never stop again, even if there's a pandemic. So many may invest in transportation stocks. I say
Boeing
may.
is up sky high.
Right, but I say may because I did this for my own research and opinions, but I don't know. So Greg, that's where you come in. I did a little research myself and tried to figure this out. And this is what I've come up with: old school investments, but with new school stuff, right? Like diversifying. Like don't put all your money in
so I
crypto.
don't-
Like everybody did that and you went broke and you're like gambling with
I
that.
don't think any transportation is really, like ESG. Even because electric cars also it's kind of they still pollute in some way. It's just not as bad, right? So I'm not going to get into that, but I don't think you should ever just invest in something because it sounds good. Now there's a difference, right? Like if you're an investor and you have extra money and you're trying to better the world, you spend money on it. Or you could do what Bill Gates does and try to short Tesla. It is what it is. I don't think you should invest something just because it makes you feel warm and fuzzy. Okay, now you can do whatever you want to with it, but I couldn't, as your advisor, say, hey, you should get in this because it's good
I
for
said
the
it's a
thing if
movement
you
and
can
you're
lose the money.
disagreeing with me. So
Well, it is what it is. It's a movement. There's a lot of movements I don't agree with right now, and we can get into those personally. But
Greg, I had friends buy Boeing in the middle of the pandemic when airlines were mothballing jets. And
Okay,
now they're
so-
pulling those jets out of mothballs. And Boeing stock is,
Boeing is a whole different thing. You can't say Boeing is a transportation compared to all the other transportations because Boeing got destroyed because of the Max, right? That crashed, the ones that crashed.
right.
So they went down dramatically, and then you had the pandemic, and then you had all this other stuff. So Boeing was at a point where it couldn't go anywhere.
it had to go up.
It had to go up.
Okay.
Because Boeing wasn't going anywhere because of why? Where does Boeing get their money from?
government.
That's right.
And
Boeing
they are
government.
building, like 747, they
They belong
building
with the
one more
Nordstrom and
for-
all those other war people. So, anytime we got some stuff coming like that, Boeing's out there doing their best to make little drones or whatever they're
That's
doing.
true. And the space program they're tinkering with
Yeah.
too.
So it's not just that, but
Okay.
they were really down. So I wouldn't say look at Boeing as like a transportational index or,
Okay.
everybody compare it to everybody else.
Like Amtrak, is that
Yeah.
publicly traded?
I couldn't even tell you. I don't know. But
Okay.
other transportations, or like you said, jets, which is your airlines, I wouldn't really go, with airlines at all because it's just one of those really hard industries to try to get into. Now, if you're looking at other like railroads and things like that'll fall underneath transportation. We kind of saw that transportation is a weird industry right now, even when you talk about truckers and all the backlogs on all the ports and everything like that. And now you have California over there saying that some independent truck drivers, they have to be employees and they don't want to do it, and they're causing issues at the port. So it could be a little bit weird with that one, but like I said, I wouldn't go into it just because it sounds good.
Yeah.
Because we have a history of coming up with things that sound legit that just end up being completely wrong.
Right.
For example, we had Freon. Freon was really bad, right? Everybody hated Freon. But then we came out with that R30 132,
yeah.
which ended up being 10,000 times worse than the other one. One created greenhouse gases, the other one created carbon dioxide, or whatever it was, but it ended up being worse. So now you're getting a new coolant in all your ACs probably in the next couple of years, but you don't want to have to replace your HVAC. They were smart this time. It's compatible.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
All right. So I was right. Diversify. I mean, that's what I took from all that. Even though
Yeah, I'm just, transportations are not one of those recession-proof things because,
Okay.
When we're in a recession, you don't travel. And then it's in that little mix where you're going from gas to electric, but then when you go to electric, what happens with the gas? It gets cheaper.
Yep.
Because now the demand's not
Man's
there.
low. Which is
So-
why gas went to $2 a gallon
Yeah.
in Texas.
Yes.
Even in California during COVID, $2.
Yeah, so you might like, oh, electric's here. Well, electric's probably overpriced because everybody's thinking that, and then the other one might be the steel because it's, like I said, we're not going electric anytime before
you guys are
2040.
not. You know what? Y'all are not with the movement. I'm going electric.
You
Okay?
can go
My
electric,
whole neighborhood's
and
gonna
you can
have
sit there and not charge your car while I go
Yeah.
past you.
stuck in the middle of the road.
She's going to have a diesel generator on a trailer behind her electric Bronco or whatever.
Until we get the Bill Gates nuclear reactor that's a traveling wave reactor that's built on spent nuclear fuel, which is a really cool technology that just got approval from Montana, we'll have little baby Mr. Fusions in our car. By the way, trains, which are typically electric, the big trains, the freight trains, they run on oil or gas or coal, the old ones were coal, to then turn an electric motor. So that's kind of a hybrid where you're burning a fossil fuel to do the
Yeah,
electric.
diesel generators is what almost every train.
And now,
runs off
nowadays
of,
they're diesel, but they started, back with coal and shoveling that crap in the furnace. And you cannot buy stock in Amtrak because it has like a government subsidy thing going on.
Ah.
But you can buy shares of the Burlingtons and the groups that are the freight train operators.
Okay.
So there's like some ETFs around that as well. Hey, that's the end of the show. We want to thank
we're
lead
done.
instructor Greg Krause for being here with us today.
Thank you, Greg. Remember, if you've got questions, we can try to help you answer them. We wind up on the show having our own questions, and we're like, wait, what about this? So we would love to hear from you, though, okay? So email us at www.OptionsPlayers.com. And, of course, you can hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street.
Now, if you're listening to the show, you can, of course, watch episodes on the OptionsPlayers.com YouTube page. Just search for that
See
right
your
on the
cool
YouTube. You can see
Porsche tee.
my funky T-shirt and Georgia's Kiss shirt, which is old school.
So old school.
So, yeah, we like our podcast, but take a look at the show as well. And hit that alert button on YouTube, too, so you can see new episodes as they drop.
Yes.
I am Dave Mathews.
I am George Alfredas. We will see you next time on What's Next Wall Street.
Nice.